a continuous computation engine, and it's written in Clojure, but everything is in Java for all you geeks out there. And so you can use this, and it's a pretty significant piece of technology that we use.
So what is your definition of real time? You said you get the data real time.
Yeah, we get it as fast as we possibly can. So push, pull, or pull from whatever the source is. And with so the whole app is an API as well. So anything that we do, you can do in the I/O perspective. And so as fast as we can get it is as fast as we will try to process it. And obviously it's dependent on the I/O of the source and our ability to receive it. So we're aiming for sub 200 milliseconds. It's difficult to do that.
So you talked about anomaly detection and acting as an early warning system, which sounds fantastic. But my question is how? Like, what do you actually do? How do you determine whether something's a problem? What do you look at?
Well, I mean, so we started with the sources we did because we knew how they were supposed to work, at least enough, and that the data was structured enough so that we would be able to determine, it's basically just math to figure out this is what the expected behavior is. Are we within the standard deviation? Are we within the math boundaries that we think are right? And we started with some defaults based on all of our usage in the past. And then what we'll have to build in are two things. One is user-defined more, right? So that a user says, you're off. And this is where some of the social stuff comes into play. So I think you're off. I don't like this movie, whatever it may be. And then we also have to start expanding into the predictive analysis of this, is that we think that this happened here, therefore it's associated with this. And it's just a lot of math, which I don't do, which is fortunate for all of us.
What are the data sources that you currently look at?
AWS, Jira, GitHub, and then as of probably Monday, you'll be able to send us anything. It'll just be, as long as a JSON, we just have this very basic schema, you can send us a JSON blob, and we'll apply the same type of analysis to it, including all the tagging and everything else. And again, it'll be as fast as possible. Fast as computerly possible, we like to say.
So how do you detect an anomaly in Jira?
You don't really. Well, I take that back. You can look for, the anomalies are more related to Amazon because you're dealing with, obviously, the fleeting instances. The Jira stuff is a little bit more difficult, but what you can see are just sort of deviations from the norm, either in number of, for sake of argument, number of bugs files, number of commits made, things like that. We also, for ourselves, we also use Hudson, and then we use that a lot because for some reason builds always fail and then work the next time. And so, is that an anomaly, or is that's actually, the challenge is, believe it or not, is finding the norm. Finding the anomalies are all over the place, and then you actually have to figure out if that anomaly is an anomaly or if it's the new norm. Did I mean to put up 50 servers, like the example earlier? And so it's not, it's in process.
Yeah, I mean, what we found is this is an area that we spend a lot of time trying to solve because trying to do anomaly detection is, well, very important for us because that's what gives us indication when there's a problem. It's also very difficult unless you have very well-behaved signals. So if you have any kind of sinusoidal signal or something that's not linear, that becomes really difficult to build algorithms in order to find outliers.
I mean, I agree with that to the point where, we ended up having to do our own runtime, our own data store, and we have like 6 math PhDs that work on it. I mean,
we have one. He lives in New Jersey, so it just means he's willing to fight and eat pizza, give him the option.
So I think it's I mean, generally for me, from an operational standpoint, I'm always like thinking, you roll into a data center and you say, why is the app slow? Why is it down? When's it going to come back? And if it comes back, hopefully, is it going to be okay? And then, how much is this costing us? Sort of like the dumb type questions. And so I think, looking at the presentation through those types of filters, nothing honestly popped out from a why is it slow, why is it down, how much this is really costing us type perspective. But there's no question.
Well, I mean, it would obviously, no
just
question.
comment.
Not whatever. Yeah, I mean, the short answer is that we do not, it's not in the presentation, first of all, but second of all, if we know what the data source is, we can generate quite a bit of stuff. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have an agent for AWS and those kinds of things, and we can tell you what your VM stat basically looks like. What do all these kind of things look like? So it's all doable.
Okay.
The main thing was getting to a point of being able to do the analysis, in and of itself, and then be able to do it as fast as possible.
So you mentioned predictive analysis, right?
Yeah.
Capacity planning, right? What kind of model do you guys use to do that? Do you have like predefined model and interface that the capacity planners of the user, right? Or consumer team.
Yeah, I mean, we
do
haven't
that.
really gotten too far into the capacity planning stuff, more predictive around what we think you should be paying attention to kind of thing. So for the sake of argument, if you're finding that, if we're finding globally, for example, DNS errors are occurring, we think that this is probably going to happen to you too, right? If you're on East and we have 10 users who are also on East and they're having issues, odds are you're going to have that, right? Yeah, not so much the capacity thing though.
But it doesn't really get into, capacity planning, forecasting, those kind of things, right?
Not yet, no.
Doesn't seem to.
Yeah. But it's actually kind of an interesting use case. It's not the existing user base.
I think it's complementary to what you guys have today, right?
Hopefully.
Do you see a point where you actually, like, I guess, use the wisdom of your entire customer base, right? So, I mean, you're not just saying this is a problem you might be concerned with based on what's activity yours, but saying we're seeing this, and we've seen this in whatever our other customers, and now if it's the first time in yours, right?
Exactly, and we're doing that now around provisioning and around DNS and a couple of other things that are sort of across the global, the universe of all the assets under control, and it's really typically related to AWS more so than the other stuff.
All right.
Does it have any kind of like self-healing or self-correcting kind of capabilities within your product?
Yeah, when we started, we were going real heavily in that direction, almost like right scale kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And two things happened. The first one was that users told us that they didn't want that level of black box. They wanted to know what they were fixing something. And so, and then we decided that we would sort of take a different approach, was to integrate more things. So we integrate with Puppet and stuff like that. And you can run Puppet scripts. We implement all of the AWS APIs. So we just haven't really pushed on it. We haven't had people really be that interested to do so, but we can spin up new instances, we can take them down, we can self-heal, we can find a state and then fix it for someone, but we haven't found the use case where people want that.
Okay.
What are the different ways you can consume the data from the app? I saw you had iPhone on there.
Yeah, iPhone,
web page.
iPhone, we have a web app, APIs, whatever you'd like, we got it all. It's, the goal is that, there we go, iPhone. That works now. The goal of all this stuff is that most of these apps are painful to use, right? And the other option, the other sort of example I use is that IT guys always want to check their phones, and if they have a girlfriend, which they all do, this gives them the option to check their phone while they're hanging out. It's like, oh, honey, I'm doing work. So you can also put your Twitter feed in there if you want to, and follow Twitter.
Solving some personal problems there.
Personal problems, yes, that's right. Yeah. All right.
All right,
Yes.
with that,
Good.
I think we're done. So.
All right, thanks.